Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite _UK. Explore mindset, transformation lessons from global sports. Sign up now.
In recent years, the player selection policy of New Zealand Rugby has become a topic of debate not only among professionals but also among fans worldwide. It is not merely a technical issue in sports management, it also reflects deep tensions between tradition and innovation, between national identity and global trends. What has struck me most is not whether this policy is absolutely right or wrong, but how the people within the system, from coaches and players to administrators, have changed the perspectives over time. Initially, there were voices calling for openness, wishing to break down barriers so that players competing overseas could still have the opportunity to contribute to the national team. Yet later, those who had once supported change returned to defending traditional positions. This made me realize that, in practice, every decision is influenced by circumstances, experience, and the pressures of the position each person holds. I can understand why New Zealand Rugby remains steadfast in its policy.
Requiring players to compete domestically to represent the national team not only ensures professional quality but also helps sustain the domestic league system, nurture young talent, and maintain the identity of New Zealand Rugby. If all top players were to play abroad, the domestic competition could weaken, and in the long term, the foundation of the national team would be affected. However, looking deeper, I see a paradox. In an era where sports have become a global industry, players moving between countries to seek development opportunities is inevitable. Competing internationally helps them mature, acquire new skills, and broaden their tactical thinking. If a player reaches an elite level while playing overseas, is it truly a waste to exclude them simply because of geography? This tension makes the issue complex and thought-provoking. On one side is the desire to protect traditional values, on the other is the need to adapt to new realities. There is no entirely correct answer, but what matters is approaching the issue with openness and a constructive mindset.
What impresses me is the shift in thinking among those who once held very firm positions. When a coach who once insisted that players must live and contribute domestically to represent their country later acknowledged that the growing number of young players moving abroad requires reconsideration, it demonstrated a maturation of thought. This is not contradiction, it is adaptation. And I believe this is an important quality, not only in sports but in all areas of life. I also noticed their references to other teams as examples of more flexible approaches. This offers an important lesson. No model is perfect for everyone, but we can always learn from others to improve ourselves. Comparison is not about negating one's own values but about broadening perspectives and finding a better path. At the same time, I learned that change should not stem from impulsiveness or trend chasing, it must be based on observation, experience, and careful consideration. The people in this story did not shift their views arbitrarily, they did so after seeing real consequences and understanding the context and needs of the team.
It is a process of growth worthy of respect. Instead of merely focusing on wins and losses or debates over right and wrong, we can look more deeply at how decisions are made. Sports are not just matches, they reflect social values, conflicts, and the evolution of human thought. Another important lesson I draw is the value of dedication. Regardless of where players compete, the most important thing is their willingness to contribute to the team and provide value both on and off the field. This transcends any regulation or debate. It reminds me that in any environment, a person's worth is not only determined by their position but also by how they contribute and influence the collective. I realize that growth does not come from always being right, but from having the courage to reassess oneself. And in a world full of change, this may be the most precious quality we can cultivate.
Thank you for being part of Scrum Masters Elite _UK. Always keep learning, adapting, and growing every day.